I didn't go to class. I really, hey, I didn't. I didn't go to class. I would never tell you I was the best student. I was smart.
Oh my God,
I didn't
that's
go to
funny.
class. And honestly, the more comfortable I got, the less I went to class.
Oh
I always
wow.
turned my work in, but I remember one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was, you know how when you're taking a class for your major, you have to get a C or above. You can't get anything lower.
Yes.
And I'd gotten straight A's on every assignment. And my teacher came up to me at the end of the semester and she said, just so you know, I'm giving you a D. You will be back here next year. And she said, and I was like, how? Like, I got a 90 on everything, every test, every assignment, 90 and up. And she was like, because 30% of life is showing up.
Welcome to the HBCU4U Podcast. My name is Galen Turner, and today's guest is somebody who proves that your path doesn't have to be a straight line to be a powerful one. Kristin Smith-Clinton is a VP Group Strategy Director at UWG. The agency just named Ad Age's 2026 Multicultural Agency of the Year. Try saying that 3 times. More than 15 years, she's been the mind behind the strategy, behind the truth inside a market, and building the blueprint that makes it work for some of the biggest brands in the world. We're talking Dove, McDonald's, Jordan, Porsche, Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you've seen the campaign, somebody like Kristin built the thinking behind it. But here's what I love about her story. She didn't come from the front door. Before advertising, before strategy, she was headed toward a career in law enforcement. And instead of throwing that experience away, she took the same eye, that pattern recognition, that analytical rigor, and turned it into a brand building. And yes, she's family, a proud graduate of Jackson State University, where she studied art and political science. So if you ever felt like your journey was too unconventional, too zigzag, too off the map to lead somewhere great, this conversation is for you. Welcome, 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 Kristin. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to the conversation we're about to have.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. All right, let's get straight into it. For the folks meeting you for the first time, how would you describe the work you do, taking the truth inside a market and turning it into something brands can actually act on?
So I probably pulled that line off like my resume, but I will tell you exactly what I do. I work in marketing and advertising. So if you know anything about marketing, there's different disciplines, and my discipline is strategy. I have worked in strategy for off and on for 15 years, but I've also worked on the account side, which is a client management and things like that. But what I do as a strategist is I essentially am I call strategy the tip of the spear, which means that like we're the first to go in, we get the insights, we pull the data, and we pull together a narrative so that the creatives know what to kind of pull their thinking around. So we look at what's happening in the market, we look at what's happening with the consumer, and we kind of give it a deep dive and we try to figure out what the deepest cultural insight is. Once we do that, we're able to kind of give them, I wouldn't say give them creative direction, but give them strategic direction to land their creative. And when I say creative, obviously those are the people, the creators. So the people that build the ads, build the commercials. So yeah, I've been doing that for quite some time. It's the only job I will truly say that I've done a million jobs. I'm sure we'll get to it, but it's the only job I will truly say that I use both sides. I use my creativity, but also my analytical mind. And it's worked out really well for me because I enjoy what I do every day. I love to It sounds crazy, but it really doesn't sound crazy these days. I love to think and I love to be challenged. So I love information. So it was the right role for me. I just kind of needed to get there. Took a while.
And got there you did.
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. From a strategic point of view, you already mentioned that you wore several different hats within marketing and advertising, right? What has been one of or a few of your proudest moments as far as campaigns are concerned that you led off, from the strategic point of view? Of course, you handed off to the creatives, but what are you most proud of?
To be perfectly honest, my proudest moments aren't really tied to a brand.
Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yes.
My proudest moments are my people. I am truly a person that believes that leadership is not linear. And I believe that I am only as good as the people that I bring with me. And I'm only as good as the people that I work with. And I have a now a colleague, but we worked together once before. And I saw an opportunity for him to kind of grow in his career. And I've always, said like, I was always kind of like by title a step ahead of him. And I always thought that was weird because he's brilliant and he's like one of my favorite strategists to watch, and any opportunity I could give him would have been a gift to me. And I've brought him over and he has turned the lines of business he works on, which is like Ford and Lincoln, around. And it's because I truly believe that like he just needed the right space. If I can do that for someone and watch them grow, I mean, he's had award-winning creative. And I've never had that. I've worked on a lot of cool stuff, but like I've never had an award-winning creative that I could truly say that I hatched yet. So I think like as a leader, I feel like number one, I'm never done growing. I always am looking for my white whale. And that's my next challenge. And I love that I still feel very challenged in my career. I don't necessarily feel like I'm lead or head of anything. I feel like I'm still in the trenches. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. But I will say that like my proudest moments come from the people that I can grow, not from a brand. I've made some great brand connections and I don't want to act like I haven't had great opportunities. But when I look back on my career, all I remember is people. I don't remember that achievement as much.
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
That's wonderful. Now, I just want to take it back a little bit. And I think I'm going to use a proper term. You used a euphemism, and the young folks might not necessarily know what that means. Explain what a white whale is.
Yeah. Moby Dick. Oh my God, these kids. Okay. So like what am I supposed to say? It's the birthday? I don't know. I don't know how
No,
these
no.
No, but
When
like
you
so like it's like that one thing that you can call it a goal, but I think of it much bigger than a goal. It's just that one thing that will make me feel like I've arrived. I've really earned my place. It's not that I have imposter syndrome because I don't. I know I'm good at what I do. I just want to be lethal and I want to be like the best strategist I can be. So I'm never satisfied anyways, but I'm always striving for that, like the winning, that winning opportunity that just I'm so proud of. And I feel like I really won't be able to get it until I do something that is purpose driven. And as opposed to like working for brands is great. And sometimes you do get really amazing purpose driven opportunities. But I would love to do something that I just feel super passionate about because I know that's going to be my best work. That's what I'm looking for.
Fantastic. We're not even 5-10 minutes into this conversation. You're laying down some wisdom, some wise words that
Wisdom.
yes. Can you believe it? Can you
No,
believe it?
no.
I am happy to hear that you do not have imposter syndrome and that you're comfortable in your own skin. That's wonderful to hear. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, let's take it back to college days. We
Okay.
share that Jackson State bond. What
Mm-hmm.
drew you to Jackson State, and what did studying art and political science there do
You
for the
want the
way
whole
you see
story?
the world today? What did you say?
You want the whole story?
Please get. Hey, this is a transparent space. I can tell you my story while we're talking too. You want me to
It
start
cannot
with
be
me?
a transparent space. I'm a transparent person. You're going to get it.
I'll tell you a little bit about. I don't know if you saw my first episode or not, but JSU wasn't my first choice. I actually wanted to go to SIU, Southern Illinois University,
Mhm.
because that's where both of my parents went. So I went to high school in Mississippi, and it was the most economical thing to do to stay in state.
Mhm.
So JSU was not only my first decision, well, second choice, but it was the best decision I ever made to stay in state. And from 3 or 4 different points of view and angles, it was the best decision I made. But I just want to share a little bit about why I chose JSU. And now it's your turn.
Well, I grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, which is a suburb right outside of Chicago. And I'm only calling it Oak Park because I know somebody from Chicago is going to hear that. And Oak Park is not Chicago, but whatever. It lives across the street from my house. But anyway, so I grew up in Oak Park, and I graduated high school a half a year early. And I didn't want to just stick around. I wanted to leave, but I was already really young for my class. So I started at Jackson State. Just to give you perspective, my birthday's in September. I started in January.
Wow.
I just turned 17.
Wow.
So my mom is from Canton, Mississippi. So we are, my roots are in Mississippi. And I had gotten into all of the HBCUs I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU since a different world. Okay. That was I was like, oh yeah, that's me. I went to a college prep high school. So I felt like and I lived in a very diverse suburb. So I felt like I had already experienced the PWI situation enough. I mean, where I grew up is extremely liberal. We always, it was extreme diversity. I grew up, predominantly Black friends. And I just felt like there was a different experience that I wanted. My brother went to Notre Dame in contrast. So I basically had gotten into all the HBCUs. I really wanted to go to Howard. I got into Howard. They didn't have at the time, I mean, everybody has their spring program. I want to say there was either not a dorm room available right away or something, but either way, my mom was like, "You just turned 17. There's no way I'm sending you to college somewhere where you have no family." So I ended up, you know, I was like, okay, so I'll go to Jackson State. My cousin was there, and her and I grew up together. So it made sense to just, hang out with your bestie. And so that's how I ended up at Jackson State. But yeah, so that was the choice. The choice was, she was like, if you're going to go, I'd rather you go where we have, my grandmother, her mother was still living, and she was like a second mother to me. So she was like, I'd rather you go where you have that. And so I was like, I think I'd rather do that too. Well, the plan was after first semester, when it started in the fall, I would go to Howard. I think my number two at the time was Clark. I would go to either one. And I chose to stay. I had a rough first semester at Jackson State. I almost flunked out, to be
Wow.
honest. I was shockingly, I was extremely shy.
Okay.
I was so scared to just walk across the campus by myself. Just shy. I mean, like cripplingly shy.
Wow.
And I met by the end of like first semester, I met someone, my bestie, Kaneen. I met her in class, and we had several classes together. So it was just kind of like the classes I would go to. And she she's very outgoing. She knew everybody and she went to the union every day, and like she would just drag me along, and I just kind of started. I didn't get warmed up, but honestly, like I barely stayed on campus at the time. My cousins would pick me up from school every day after school, and I'd go hang out at my grandmother's house. So I almost flunked out because I was not going to class, which
Wow.
became, we can get there later, but it kind of became like a thing. I was barely going to class, almost flunked out. So I did start to enjoy myself at the end. And I was like, you know what? I think I'll stay. I didn't want to start over again. So I was like, I think I'll stay. And that's how I stayed. That's how I ended up there.
Well, let's talk about it. You already mentioned developing a friendship with Kaneen. Was that the start of your transition of getting out of your shell? What was the shift?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Her. She knows this. I give her all the credit. I was very shy. I mean, just, I've always been a ham, but I've also always been a really serious person. It's such a weird combination because a lot of times people think I'm joking. I'm like, no, I'm just very blunt, and it's very, But Kaneen was just a very fun person. She was so extroverted, and I was not an introvert. Once you get to know me, you know I'm an ambivert, but
Yes.
until then, I'm so guarded, and it
Right.
takes me a while to just let down. And she made it wasn't that she made school fun or that she made something in particular fun. She made people fun to me. She made me like understand how to like, like I said, like I'm a serious person, so she made me
Right.
understand like you have all of these things about you that are so great. Like just talk to people. Just who cares, whatever. And she definitely, it wasn't that I lacked confidence. I just was very shy. I mean, I just didn't say much, even I get like that sometimes, but like she was just very the opposite. She was super smart. She was very outspoken. She was very confident. I mean, she would just walk in a room. She's a Gemini, so she's a talker. She's a communicator. That's her thing. And yeah, we just kind of were like peas and carrots, and we just kind of hit it off. And I had the best time of my life when she was there.
Fantastic. Now, one of the main reasons you were flunking out is because you already mentioned you weren't going to class. Was that the only part of it, or was there
Yeah,
other components? Okay.
I wasn't going to class. I mean, I wasn't. And that actually, to keep it a buck, like that actually was kind of my brand in college. I didn't go to class. I really, hey, I didn't go to class. I would never tell you I was the best student. I was smart.
Oh my God,
I didn't
that's
go to
funny.
class. And honestly, the more comfortable I got, the less I went to class.
Oh
I always
my.
turned my work in. My freshman year, I probably didn't even know what work I had to do because didn't go to class and didn't know anybody in the class. But
Right.
I always got my work in. But I remember, but one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was, how when you're taking a class for your major, you have to get a C or above. You can't get anything lower.
Yes.
And I'd gotten straight A's on every assignment. And my teacher came up to me at the end of the semester and she said, just so you know, I'm giving you a D. You will be back here next year. And she said, and I was like, how? Like, I got a 90 on everything, every test, every assignment, 90 and up. And she was like, because 30% of life is showing up.
Wow.
And I was like, well, damn.
What a
Now, I
lesson.
got away with that in other places, but I never didn't show up to her class again. I mean, that's just a lesson that I teach, anybody listening is like, just show up. Just being there is like half the battle. And that was the lesson.
Wow.
Hmm.
What a lesson.
I know. I know.
That's all right. Let's jump back into it. A lot of people don't expect to hear that a top director started out heading toward law enforcement. Walk us through that pivot. How'd you go from that path into marketing and advertising?
I didn't start there either.
Talk about it.
I didn't start there either.
Talk about it.
So I'll talk about my Jackson State journey, and then I'll talk about because that's kind of my brand too. It's like I find a way. So
Sound like you have a lot of brands.
for sure, I mean, hey, my handle's Feral Child in the Wild. I'm always out here. But no, seriously, I went to college to be a marine biologist.
Wow.
I went to college to be a marine biologist. That is what I wanted to be my entire life. That and an actress. I wanted to be one of those two things.
So
Neither one of them have anything in common. But I
what
did want to be.
changed?
Well, there's a couple of things. I went to Jackson State. I didn't care for the biology teacher. God bless him, but he was a jerk. And I couldn't see myself like getting through 4 years with someone like that. And then, but to be honest, like what really changed, I almost drowned my first or second summer
Oh wow.
at Jackson State. I almost drowned. And for someone who studied marine biology all the way since, I mean, I have pictures when I was really little, like everything was about whales and dolphins and sharks and marine life. I mean, I have so much useless information about marine life to this day. But when I almost drowned, I was just kind of like, the ocean's a little too powerful for me. And I like literally was like, not that you can't do other things in marine biology, but after that,
Right.
I was like, I think I'm gonna give what I call live water. I'm gonna give that a break. So the next thing I went into was political science because my dad said that I was so good at arguing, I'd make a good lawyer. And I did that. I did that long enough to get, long enough to get degreed in it. But it was right around like, I want to say I changed my major at like the end of sophomore year to art.
Okay.
And that's where I met, my best friend Bianca, my best friend Jamila. Like we were all in the art department together. And I was always super creative kid, even younger, but I just kind of felt like that was probably where I would fit in more. And I definitely loved it. I think had I done it, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably focus more on fine arts so that I could go into curating as opposed to creating. Cause I would never, I mean, I can draw and I can paint and I can do all of that, but it's not something I want to do actually. So after college, I thought I wanted to be like a stylist, like a personal stylist or something. So I had a couple opportunities in Atlanta. Um, but then I quickly decided that wasn't for me either. And at the time, my parents had left Chicago and moved to Indianapolis. So I was like, okay, I'll come to Indy. But that was like, I didn't know anybody there at all.
Right.
Where did I work first? I think I worked at like Banana Republic first. I was still trying to do this thing with styling. And I
Mm-hmm.
got a job at Nordstrom in the collections department. The collections department is like the super high end department, or that's what it was. I don't know what it is anymore, but like that's a really high end department. And it was very similar to personal styling. Like you would have clients and things like that. So I did that for a minute, hated it. And then I ended up like at the Hoosier Lottery. I did a internship for graphic design. My dad's one of my dad's friends let me work for his company one summer. And he was like, you really don't know what it you don't know and you don't have enough skills to do this professionally. And I was like, bet, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Worked for the lottery for a minute, moved to Houston, got a job recovering medical benefits for veterans,
Wow.
which was wild. And I did that for some years. It was wild, but it was that was fulfilling. It's great. And then boyfriend and I broke up. So I was like, what am I going to do now? I'm here in Houston, but should I stay here or should I go? So I went to Dallas because I had a cousin that lived there. And I was there. I still worked for the company in Houston. So that was my first remote job actually. So I was doing that before COVID. And then a high school friend told me that he was coming to Dallas to do the police academy. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I guess I could do that. That maybe that's a way for me to get out into the community and get to meet people,
Right.
because I always wanted to be a marine biologist, but I've always been very inquisitive and I've always loved true crime. Like, since I can remember, I watched Unsolved Mysteries and I
Mm-hmm.
always kind of wanted to be like a detective.
Right.
So, anyways, I was like, cool, like I'll do it too with you. So we went through all the testing and all this stuff. I think I got all the way to the end. I got accepted, whatever. You have to work for like the police department for a little bit, like before our class started. Then class started. I think I got through about they have the Dallas has the longest police academy in the nation. So it's 8 months.
Really?
Yeah, usually it's like 2 or 3, but theirs is 8 months,
Wow.
which is necessary, but it's tough. It's like going to law school, boot camp, all of that at the same time. And you're doing like physical exercise. I was a smoker at the time, like smoking cigarettes at the time. I was doing all that stuff. I hated physical activity. So, anyways, did that. And they had us running on concrete. I didn't have the best shoes, and my kneecaps came loose. Like, and so the rule there was like, if you can't recover from an injury within a certain amount of time, you have to start all over. And I was like, that I'm not doing. Already,
Wow.
my class will tell you to this day, Kristin got us in more trouble than anybody else because I didn't listen. I was always asking questions. I always doing the most. I got us smoked a lot. Um, but I just didn't want to. If I was going to graduate, I wanted to graduate with my class 315, and I didn't. And so I retired. That was it for me.
Wow. Wow.
And then
So
I
it's
went back
some,
to the other job. And then my best friend, I was telling him, like, I really want to do something else. And one of my best friends from home was working at an advertising agency. And he was like, they got an opening here. You can do the job. And that's the rest is history. That was in 2011.
you know what I love about this story? What I glean from it is you're not afraid to try different things and just fill it out and see if it's for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you also weren't afraid to venture out to other cities. Now, that's in some aspects kind of shocking to me, especially hearing that you had crippling shyness in college. So to hear that you kind of grew out of your shell and explored a little bit, that's a
It
fascinating
was
thing.
being in different cities was tough, but it was probably what was needed. I always felt like I think once I left home, which was Chicago, once I left there was really no stopping me from going anywhere. I felt like if I could establish a life for myself in Indianapolis, I think I was there 3 almost 4 years, then I could do it. What did it matter what the city was? I never felt anchored to any one place. I never felt like I wanted to just say like this is it for me. Um Ever again. I've always felt like you'll make friends, you'll meet people. Just figure out a way to do that. That's the best. Now I don't know how I do now cuz I really do like working remote. So, but I've met so many people through my job. So,
Right.
whatever job I was in, I've met lifelong friends. So, that's how I
Fantastic.
yeah.
Cool. All right. You said you bring the same pattern recognition and analytical rigor from that earlier path into brand building. How does thinking like an investigator show up in your strategy work?
It's actually quite clear. Like I said, I'm a true crime junkie. I love watching people put a story together. And what I do is very similar to that, not from a murder standpoint, but definitely from like a looking for the insights, looking for the details, looking for the clues that will give you the best possible connection to a story, trying to fill in the holes. We do a lot of data research, analytics, um, bridging that gap, that's it's to me it's very clear. Like, and it's also like, yeah, I bounced around a lot and I've tried a lot of different things, but I also again think strategy was the perfect combination of the two, where they call it like a golden brain when you have half analytics, half creative. And I like the fact that I can, spend a whole 8 hours analyzing data, and then the next day I spend the whole day writing a story. Like that's kind of how my and I think of that, very similarly to what it must be like to build a case or to investigate something. I'm super curious, so I'm always looking for stuff anyways. So I think that's how it's kind of played a role. Other people, whenever I tell them that little fun fact about me, they're like, yeah, I can see it. like I'm very militant and all that, but I'm not. But
Yeah.
they'll say that they could see that I was a cop before, that I wanted to do that.
Now, speaking of a fun fact, I definitely know of a fun fact because I'm thoroughly entertained when you were doing it. I don't think you do it as much now. But at some point, you were a blogger, right? You
Oh
just
yeah, yeah,
mentioned,
I forgot about that. That blog is still up somewhere in the
yes, you
internet.
mentioned one day you're doing analytical work, the next day you're doing creative writing, if you will, or writing. And so that I immediately thought about that. So talk a little bit about that. I'm third. I was tickled. I don't know if you knew I read your stuff, but that was
You know
thoroughly
what?
entertaining.
Um, Gosh, I don't really. I have to go back and look at those archives. I don't remember what prompted me to put my business on the internet, and I hope I don't ever become famous because God, that will be tethered to me. But
Right.
I would probably cringe if I read it now. But I remember just having a lot of thoughts, and
Yeah.
this is before social media was, people were blogging back then. So people
Right.
were really writing and being thoughtful. This is before your life got kind of crunched down into your posts, and being influencers wasn't a term then.
Right.
But you could get a following blogging. So I would write. It was really cathartic for me just to kind of journal what was going on in my life, these crazy
Gotcha.
things, the tosses and turns through relationships, and just through, all of that. I don't know that I didn't know anybody was reading. It was really just writing for me. I never looked at my analytics. See, I would be a terrible influencer because I could care less.
Yeah.
For me, it was just putting it out into the void. But apparently, I had a desire for it to be public because I could have just journaled, right?
Right.
But
Right. Right.
I don't think that getting views was the motivator. I think it was just putting my thoughts out there was important to me.
Yes.
And yeah, that blog was that was a trip. Thick like
Yeah.
gumbo. That's what it was called. Thick like gumbo,
Yes. Yeah.
which was my nickname in college. My friend Scott gave that one to me.
That's funny. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's an Illinois thing, but I feel like we have a knack for deadpan humor.
Oh,
And
for sure.
you have that down to the T. And
Oh, for sure. I work with someone from Chicago.
yeah,
And I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I'm from Oak Park or whatever. And she was like, you Oak Park people, y'all got some comebacks. She was like,
yeah,
y'all come back so fast. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe that comes from being bullied all our lives. I don't know what
yes.
from,
I
but
for sure was bullied. So
yeah, like I don't know where that comes from. I definitely was bullied at one point too, somewhat, but I just felt like I don't know if I think people think I'm funny, but
yeah.
I don't know that I'm being funny.
And that's you want me to tell you the secret? That's the funniest part when you're being serious. I have a cousin. He can say the craziest stuff with the straightest face, and he's so serious. And it's the funniest thing that you've ever heard. My cousin Lawrence, we call him Greg. He can say just with a straight face, and it's just you'll be cackling on the floor, just balled up laughing at some of the stuff he said because he
Yeah.
be so serious. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm pretty serious, but I do. My dad's like that too. He's like a very he looks very serious. He's very serious, and he's got a deep voice. And then like, but he says the funniest stuff. Like he is so
yeah,
funny. I wish I was funny like that.
you are, you
And my
are, you
brother and my mom, they
yeah,
they don't have. They're funny people. I mean, my brother,
right,
rest in peace, he's passed. But like my mom is just like him. They're funny people because they're funny to watch, but they're not humorous people. They don't have it.
gotcha, gotcha. So you picked it up from your dad's
My
side.
dad, yeah.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool. All right, moving along. You work at the Multicultural Agency of the Year,
Hmm.
and cultural intelligence is a big part of your role. For
Hmm.
young people listening, what does cultural intelligence really mean, and why does it matter so much in business right now?
So CQ, um, the way I define it is like it's the way of reading, interpreting, and acting on cultural insight. I'm sure other people have other definitions, but that's what it means to me. It is being able to understand the insight, but then understand and define the meaning behind it, and to be able to really react to, interpret that, understand what it means. Like, I just read this perfect reel of memes today that was like, it takes cultural intelligence to be able to read that and know exactly what it meant. But it was like, in honor of Juneteenth, here's a reel of things that black people will only black people will understand. And that's really what cultural intelligence is to be able to interpret why that means something, and then to act on that is how you use it and apply it to business. It's essentially saying like, here's what we know about this community. It's not about, the thing about multicultural marketing in general, it's not about getting a brand in that space. It's about a brand earning their right to be in that space, but not as an observer, as a participant. So how do you get a brand to participate in the space? And a lot of times brands want a culture molded to their brand. Like, here's a great shoe. You are an influential person. Make people buy this shoe. And it's like, you need to conform to my culture, not the other way around.
Right.
And so cultural intelligence is really being able to see those insights, understand. I mean, black people are brilliant at doing it, especially for our own community. You can say one thing and you're just like, I know what that means without anybody else in the room knowing what that means. I know that feeling. I know that smell. I know that sentiment. Like, that's cultural intelligence, but it's not just knowing those things, it's being able to interpret what they mean, that they have meaning, having that understanding, and then it's being able to act on it. How do you engage? How do you get people to act on that?
Wonderful breakdown. As a part of someone whose CQ is high, how does that look when you're having conversations with these companies and corporations? Uh, as you just mentioned, you have to change their mindset to conform into the culture and not, the culture conforming into their brand. What does that conversation look like for you? Can it be exhausting at times? Is it a pretty quick turnaround for you to have that conversation and for them to
No, it's a
understand?
lifelong battle. It's a lifelong battle. If you're in multicultural marketing, you're having probably, I think I probably speak for all of us, you're probably having one of the worst years of your life. I mean, especially if you're in the advertising, like, agency world. I mean, the brand side is even harder, but the agency world for multicultural is brutal right now. With the advancements in AI and the advancements in technology in general, and then culture is used almost like a, it's like used like a catchphrase a little bit. And culture, multicultural expands beyond race and ethnicity. It's
Hmm.
subculture. It's all these things. It's gender. It's all of these things. It is incredibly difficult. brands have never fully valued multicultural marketing at its full capacity. And I say that with my chest. They
Right.
have never said, now, multicultural audiences are 1000% the most influential people on the planet. Multicultural audiences are the most influential people on the planet. Trust and believe, if you give the right audience the right message, they will convert. But brands love to think that, well, the whole world is multicultural. The whole, this is multicultural, which is actually true. But it
Right.
doesn't mean that you don't have to have the right insight. And so brands get lazy and they flatten culture a lot. And when it's done right, it resonates immediately and people have respect. Respect in your brand is better than sales because respect means they'll come back.
Right.
Respect means they'll trust you. It is a constant battle. Our budgets get cut first. Our budgets get cut first. Our budgets get cut deeper. Our media buys are smaller. Even though our creative speaks to the masses, you also get the stigma of being a multicultural agency, which is arguably the biggest insult because in our industry should look like the world, and the world is not white.
Right.
So the world is multicultural.
Right.
We are multicultural. Everyone is multicultural. So when you say you're a multicultural agency, they're like, oh, Black, Hispanic, which one?
Hmm.
And it's like, we do all of that.
Right.
We do white people too. We do Indians too.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? We do
With
East Asians. We do
with
Asian. We do all of it.
right. With that being said, you already mentioned that AI was a factor. I think you're alluding to this, but speak a little bit about this. Has the current political climate jaded or emboldened some companies and corporations to uh, make it harder to convince them
Yeah.
that this direction that you're
Yeah. I
trying?
mean, what happens is, corporations got real bold and they were like, oh, we don't have to do DEI anymore. Let's cut the Black agency. Let's cut the Hispanic agency. And it's just like, okay, you know, like these Target showed us who they were, right? Target
Speak
showed
on
us
it.
Target showed us who they were. I mean, they were they were arguably the most inclusive brand out there. They were louder and prouder than anyone. And the T on that was ain't nobody asked you to do all of that. If you weren't really doing that authentically, you were doing that to sell, it was automatically going to end up just like it ended up. Eventually, everyone caught on to your BS because you came out and you showed us exactly what you meant. And so it's been challenging because, yeah, big brands, we definitely felt that. Multicultural agencies felt that the hardest when they got rid of DEI. And then, the thing with AI is that everything's at your fingertips. Everyone's getting the same data streamed in. Everyone feels like, AI is super smart and involved in culture. AI is only as smart as what happened the day before, number one. Number two, AI flattens culture. AI has bias. So AI also doesn't interpret actual data. They can read an insight, they can read a data point, and they'll interpret it all wrong and build you the wrong information.
Right.
You have to don't think I don't use it. I use it for efficiencies, I use it to build frameworks, but I don't use it for information. You have to spend time with the information that you feed it. Even if you feed it, just put this in a deck. You got to go back through because they get fancy on you. They like to say things and you know, and I think like what we're gonna see is yeah, people replaced a lot of people in the agency world got replaced by robots, especially
Right.
the what they call lower tier jobs got replaced by robots. It doesn't matter. You'll get there soon. Everything sounds the same when you make it through AI. So they'll
Yep.
get there. It's just a rough patch.
Right.
But
Right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you feel like at some point there'd be a leveling off with this AI boom that we're having. And from your assessment, do you feel like it's going to return to some level of normalcy as far as you're concerned, or what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, you're already starting to see that. You're seeing companies that laid off 10,000 people because they thought a bot could do a job. And then they're like, yeah, the bot really can't do that job. I mean, AI has to have human contact, it has to have
Right.
human connection. It's only as smart as the human feeding into it. You have to continue, and it's also being built by humans, so it's going to have a certain voice and approach. I fight with my AI every day, so I know it's, and yeah, they continue to improve models, they continue to make it as human as possible,
Right.
but you're already starting to see pushback from people who want real human connection. People don't want an AI movie or an AI produced record. The people who want that are the people who make it and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool." And everybody else is like, "Not really."
Yep.
Like if you ever go on Instagram and someone posts this incredible video, you go in the comments and everybody's like, "This is AI." And people are offended by that. No one wants to be tricked. Like no one it's going to, I think you're already seeing like disgruntled people with the overuse of AI. I think it should be
Yep.
moderated, but I don't think it needs to be regulated. I think it'll get there on its own.
Good deal. All right, moving along. You're in the middle of starting your first LLC, a strategic consultancy. What's pushing you to build something of your own, and what have you learned so far about taking that leap? If you haven't learned anything, we
No, I mean, I learn something every day. I feel very challenged in my career right now. I feel like I got to get better at my craft, but I got to branch out to do it a little bit. I feel like the market is unstable. And if I lost my job, I want to be able to work right away. I don't want gaps in my resume. I mean, it's kind of strategic move for me too. I want to be able to, hey, like I'm out here, I can do this, I can do that. But I also get so many opportunities in front of me of people who want to work and collaborate and do things. And while my agency might not be the right fit, given like the budget that it would cost smaller brands to do things, I still want to be able to do some of the work. And I can offer strategic services, that I can do on my own time that aren't in competition with anything that I'm doing. So I'd like to do some, like I said, some more purpose driven work with some nonprofits. I've had some opportunities come across my desk that I'm like, I would really like to just work on that, like do some brand positioning for them or something like that. They could pay me to do that. Because you're not always going to be able to afford an agency fee, especially if you're just starting out. So I'd love to work with some startups. I'd love to work with some different types of brands, like some tech companies. I like to be challenged, so I like to see like how problems present themselves in other markets outside of what I work on. So
what would you say is stopping you, or what would you say is holding you back from just going ahead and starting?
nothing. I'm starting. I'm
Okay.
already. I mean, yeah, I've
I'm
already
happy to hear that.
figured out my name, and I've already that $385. Maybe that. Maybe that.
And for the folks who don't know what she's talking about, I'm very well informed on what you refer to the formation, the LLC formation. Is that what you're
Correct.
talking about?
That's right. Yep.
Yes, there's a formation fee. So hey, once you get it, go
Yeah, it's
for it.
mine. Right.
Yeah, go
It's mine.
for it.
So,
Fantastic. For a team at an HBCU right now, who has no idea a career like yours even exists, what advice would you give them about discovering their lane and betting on themselves?
I talk to college students often. I have a couple of people that I've met either in interviews or whatever. It is a dream of mine. There's Boston College does this. They have their own agency inside of the college.
Wow.
And they go out and they pitch and they do real business and they bring in real fee and they're being trained on the spot on how to do the job I do. And a lot of things, like, I don't think agencies know they're up against a bunch of students. But if the pitch is for a HBCU or the pitch is for a college, who better to speak to those insights than the people in the building that are living that life, right? They can give you insights that data can't give you. So
Right.
it's my dream to do that for HBCUs. I would love to build a program that mirrors an advertising agency within an HBCU. That way, these kids come out prepared and they're already 10 steps ahead. And then I'm learning from them, right? Like I learn more from people that work under me than I learn from people who've been doing it 50 years. So I think I would love that's my dream. But for people who maybe didn't know that this job existed, I would tell them that there's a lot of opportunities that are not the loudest in the room. If you think that there's something that you like to do, I mean, these kids have like everything at their disposal. We didn't grow up with smartphones. We grew up with cell phones, but we didn't have smartphones. And like a smartphone is essentially walking around with your computer.
Yep.
So if you have an idea and you're like, this is what I like to do, it's as simple as that. You'd be surprised at what jobs come up when you just type in. I talk to my AI like I'm talking to a person. So I'm just like, you know what I was thinking about today? I really love doing this, and this. And I know they don't sound like they go together, but like, what jobs do people have where they do all of that stuff? And it'll give you a list. Start exploring that way. Cause like undergrad, God, I'm gonna get tomatoes thrown at me for this. Undergrad is nothing but a social experiment. That education you get in undergrad, I've never used it. Technically I didn't have a college education because I never went back for a master's. I learned what I did as I did it. It's a social experiment. That's how you
Yeah.
learn to be an adult. That's how you
Yeah.
learn community on your own outside of your family unit.
Yeah.
That's how you learn how to take care of yourself. That's how you learn how to make friends and break friends. That's like, it's a social experiment. It's not what people make it out to be. And I know people are going to frown at that, but it's the truth. Well, at least that was the truth for me.
Right. Especially depending on what field you're in. I think that makes a lot of difference. I would wholeheartedly agree with you uh, because I tell people that all the time, specifically for what I graduated in. I graduated with a computer technology degree, and it wasn't about the education for me per se. It was about the networking. It was about the experience that I had while I was there. It was about the friendships that I developed and the experience that I gathered while I was there. All those things grew me into who I am now, propelled me into who I am now, along with the education. But it was 90% of the other stuff that I just mentioned and 10% education. The education part just helped me get in the door
Yeah.
in certain avenues. But
If I went to Jackson State now, I would probably say something different. I would probably say, no, I got a really good education. I don't know when the last time you went, but Jackson State is not the Jackson State I went to. It
yeah,
is so, I mean, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very
yeah,
proud of that. But coming from a college prep school in Chicago to Jackson State at the time in the late 90s, I really had already learned a lot. I had
right,
already known everything I learned in English. And I also, something like personal, but truly impactful in my life is I have had severe ADHD my whole life. I didn't get treated for it until I was in my 30s. So
Wow.
actually 40. I mean, the first time in my 30s, and then I was just whatever. But then actually, after my brother passed, I got actually treated for it. Had I had had I chosen to do that earlier, I probably would have been a lot more focused on like being present in school. So I do want to preface my experience was unique, but I also had a lot of that experience, and it's really hard, even now, even whether I take medicine or not, really hard for me to, if I already know something, to pay attention, to keep my attention. So I would say that like every experience is probably unique, but that's what I got out of it. It was a social experiment for me. It was
Gotcha.
great. It was a great one, but it was a social experiment.
Well, I had a grand old time. We were there during the late 90s and the 2000s, the cash money era. That was just a
Mhm.
wonderful time for me.
In the South too. Yes. It was
It is
amazing.
I can't speak for you, but that was a wonderful time for me.
Amazing. Especially being from, they call Chicago Big Mississippi, but especially being from Chicago where we grew up on East Coast rap. So going down south, which I did anyways, I spent summers in Mississippi all the time. So I already knew who Master P was. I had the Bout
Yeah,
It Bout It video. I had all of that. But like we were in the cash money era. I mean, it was a great time. It was a great time to be alive. People were really singing and dancing and rapping and like it was amazing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't trade it for the world. It was the best time of my life. Did I ever use my education? Not really. Not really at all, actually, but I've used my experience my whole life.
Right.
So since I left college, I've used what I learned there for sure.
The thoughts and views of Christians are that of her own. We can.
You need a disclaimer.
No, it's all good. Now, let's have a little fun.
Mm,
Uh, as anybody who follows you know, you go all in on Halloween and Halloween makeup. Where did that creativity come from? And does that artistic side connect back to your strategic work or strategy work at all?
no, that is the it doesn't connect to anything. I mean,
Talk about it.
artistic. I guess creativity, artistic, sure. I was an art major, so sure. But there are two things that I love to do that I refuse to make a part of any kind of professionalism, and that is cooking. I love to do that, it relaxes me. But Halloween has been my favorite day as long as I can remember. I don't care about birthday at all, like at all. You don't have to call me, I could care less. But Halloween is my jam. That's my day. And I don't do I don't go trick or treating. I don't go to Halloween parties. I don't answer my door for trick or treaters, and they don't come here anyway in my neighborhood.
All
But I
right.
don't, and I literally just sit and I think of an idea and I create, and I sit for sometimes 6 to 8 hours just doing, and it's usually just my face. It's
All
not,
right.
I don't. I've done every time I've entered a Halloween contest, like my job will hold one. I've won every year. But
Talk about it.
I mean, I'm good. I'm nice with it.
Talk that talk. No, this is your
I know
moment.
I could do
Speak
it
on it.
I could do it professionally if I really like if I put my mind to it and I went to the right classes and learned like if I learned the medium, to create like prosthetics and things like that,
Yeah.
like I could be in Hollywood. I know I'm good. I
And
know I'm really
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it even takes classes for you. I just think it
because
takes
I'm
the right
already there.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the
I'm
right
already
opportunity.
I
Yeah.
just don't want that opportunity because it's something that truly brings me joy. And I do it and
I
I
respect
love
that.
the transformation. I love that's the part that really just you can become anything if you're really creative enough. I can
Yes.
literally become whatever I want in 6 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours sometimes. And
Yeah.
just sitting there and just doing and it's so cathartic for me. And when people it started off with just face paint. Like it was
Uh-huh.
just painting and shading. And then I got really interested in prosthetics, and from there it really grew. And I remember I start when I knew I when I'm behind something, I'm like 10,000%. And I knew it was really something when I've been saving this picture in my phone for 10 years. And I knew it was something when I was able to do it. And that was when I did Michael Jackson's Wolf for Thriller.
That was pretty
And
impressive.
when I did that, I was like, you've arrived. That's the white whale. I knew that I had set 10 years, it sat in my phone. Like one day, I hope I can do this one day. That was one of my proudest moments.
You answered my next question.
Yeah,
I was
that
going
was
to
one of my
ask you
proudest moments.
either your proudest moment or your top three favorite costumes or makeup.
My top three, that's easy. The gorilla. My husband made me go to Walmart with that on. He was like, "Isn't that what Halloween's?" My husband is a very calm person, and he's very like nothing gets to you. Can't get under his skin.
All right.
And he was like, "I need some oil from Walmart. You want to ride?" And I was like this?" And I'm like literally full on teenage boy gorilla. And
Yeah.
he's like, "I mean, yeah, I guess that means Halloween." So there's a picture of me in Walmart, and my husband standing there looking for oil, and I'm like full on, you know. So the gorilla, Michael Jackson Thriller, and then I did a really cool lion from The Wiz on Broadway,
Quiz.
played
I,
by
s-
David Allen Greer. So that
I saw
particular
that.
was that was the most beautiful. Like that one was flawless.
Okay.
And it was, but I had on like it's like I'll do the whole face and I'll do the hair, but like I'll just have on clothes. And no one, I don't get trick or treaters, so no one ever really sees me but my husband, and my millions of animals in here. So yeah,
Fantastic.
those are the top
All
three.
right. You snuck in cooking. What are your top three favorite dishes? Or you can just leave it as one. What is your favorite dish to cook?
I love there's this dish called oxtail palau.
Oh no, we're not gonna talk about oxtails. You can't.
I
We're
can't
not
afford
gonna.
them now, but you know,
I love me
poverty.
some oxtails. Yeah.
But there's this dish called oxtail palau that I really fell in love with. I can't remember who. It's somebody I follow on Instagram that made it, and I was like, "Oh, that looks amazing!" And I made it, and now I'll make it for like holidays and things like that. But that's my favorite dish to eat that I cook.
Talk a
Um,
little bit about it. What it would talk to me about the process. What is the palau part? What?
it's rice, it's beans, it's like pigeon peas and
Okay.
rice and
Okay.
carrots, and it's a beautiful looking dish. It's got the Caribbean flavors. Like it's super good. Yeah, that would probably be that's one of my, and it's a long cooking process, but it's good. It's really good.
Okay. Cool. Now you already mentioned you're a true crime lover, right?
Mhm.
Uh, let's also throw out a couple of things. You love the outdoors and
Mhm.
camping, and
Mhm.
you just mentioned it just not too long ago. You're an animal lover as well. How do
Mhm.
these passions keep you grounded outside of a high pressure industry?
I mean, animals in general are very humbling. I don't know why, but I've never owned a well-behaved animal. And I've always been told that like the smarter they are, the harder they are. Like the
Really?
everybody in my house. Remember Bebe's Kids? You remember that movie?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like young people won't know that, but like my every animal, I live with them. Those children, those
Yeah.
Bebe's Kids, they are bad. All of my animals are bad. I have two lizards, two cats, a dog. I had a snake, but the cats let the snake out, and I haven't seen him in 6 months. So he's probably dead or escaped. Bless his heart. I've had three dogs at once. They keep me grounded because they humble you every day. Like
Right.
they're like, "Who are you? Your job is to serve me." The outdoors is humbling because there's nothing more powerful than the outdoors. I love to camp. My husband and I, that's actually how we kind of connected. And I love to camp. And I just like the process of just winding down and just being your true self. I live in a high I have a high pressure job. I live in a very busy world that is full of talking and ideas and all of this at once.
Right.
And I love just being outside. I went to Canada for about 3 weeks in 2022 by myself, and I saw bears, and that was scary, like being all the way there completely alone, being in these massive national parks with the most amazing place you could ever go, and
Right.
just seeing like all of that, and like but then walking up on a pile of bear crap that's this big and being like, this is fresh, and I'm out here by myself and can't nobody hear me because there's nobody a mile from here or a mile from there. And I'm like, I'm about to blast this Beyonce all the way back to my car so I can scare these bears. But they walked right up on my porch. Like, I love that. I love the freedom of the outdoors. I love being outside. I love discovering, like, nature is so beautiful. And, like if you ever come to my house, you'll never see so many trees and plants and flowers because I love the outdoors. I live in Houston, so now it's abusive, but I do love being outside. And
Cool.
then true
Cool.
crime, I mean, I don't know what attracted me to true crime. I've always liked it, like I said, since I was a kid. I think I like storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the connection between that and things like marine biology, but as a kid, I used to write people's license plates down just in case.
That's funny.
But yeah, I like all of those things. I think all of those things are connected to something deeper, inside,
Right.
like something I'm attracted to because I spend a majority of my time doing those things.
Yeah. During moments in our time, my wife and I, the ID channel was like it stayed locked in on the ID channel. So
Hmm.
all those shows, it's we enjoyed it. My show was the first 48. It just I
Yeah, I play
was
that a lot. I play that and 48 hours. I play that.
yeah.
I don't like what are the shows? I don't like scripted stuff.
I
I
know
like
exactly what you're talking about.
watch
I
a
know
lot of
exactly what you're
documentaries.
talking.
If
Yeah.
I'm watching something, it's Game of Thrones, any of those movies in that. Um,
Yeah.
and then I'm watching like a documentary or a documentary series or
Right.
something like that. I like the truth. I like
Right.
hearing what happens to people. I
Yeah.
like seeing things get solved. I like
Right.
seeing things be unsolved. I don't know. I just really enjoy it. My husband says that I'm either Disney or murder. He was like, you know
There's
between. I'm
no in
like,
between. Yeah.
that's not true. It's definitely not true, but that's what I'm usually watching. I can watch Disney too the same way.
Well, I was going to save hubby to the end, but I do have a question. But before we get to our last question, let's talk about hubby a little bit. You already mentioned that you met him camping or around the
No, we met
aspect
on
of camp.
Tinder. I was playing around. Messing around on Tinder. I'm being so serious. I was
I know
messing
you
around,
are.
and at the time me and my friend who also went to Jackson State were writing stuff like, God, I can't remember, but it was a specific line we would just send to people, and we were just messing around. It was almost at the end of like right before we went back outside from the pandemic. And
Right.
I thought he was cute and I sent him a message, and he was the only person that I didn't send the BS message. Like he was the only person I was like, is he black? And I was like, cuz he's camping. And
Right.
I said, I see you love camping. I love camping. And he was a firearms instructor, and I was like, I also like guns, you know? And he wrote me back and he's like, "You like camping? I love camping too." And he said something like that, something to that effect. I mean,
Right.
it was interesting. And then I said, "Yeah, I can't wait for March because I really want to get back out to Big Bend, which is the national park here in Texas."
Yes.
He was like, "Big Bend." He was like, "That's my favorite place. That's my favorite
Wow.
place." And I was like, "Yeah." And I also see you're a firearms instructor. I was like, I like to shoot. And he was like, "Can I your number?" So my whole life changed in 5 sentences because
Wow.
we were together ever since then. Literally ever since then. I think the next week or so, Houston had this flood, like when our we had the freeze and all those pipes broke and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd met him. We talked a couple of times, and a pipe broke in my garage, and he came over every day just to try to fix it until he could fix it. And he was just a constant in my life since then. And we ended up going to Big Bend like a month later together, and we've been together ever since, like nonstop ever since.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful. What a love story, right? Start off with BSing on Tinder and
Yeah, and my husband is divorced, so he was really just kind of. I think his sister put his profile together,
right, right,
and
right, right.
I don't even know how often he was on there. I think he was
Yeah.
just, he was just kind of out
But
there.
it's so weird how life works and how the stars align, right?
Yeah,
Something you weren't taking so seriously, it turned into something very beautiful. So I'm
yeah.
happy to hear that.
And again, it was at the end of the pandemic, and I was terrified during the pandemic. I was like, I don't know when I'm gonna meet you in person because I ain't going outside.
Right,
And
right.
then my pipe broke. So,
That changed.
mhm.
Wonderful. All right. As we wrap, what do you hope your story tells the next generation of HBCU students about where their gifts can take them, even when the path isn't a straight line?
I think there's nothing I can tell them that they're not learning on their own. I think we are hard on these young people, but they are the most inventive and innovative. And I think that look at the people we came up with. Look at Bobby Carter. Look at Jabari Graham. Like, listen to their stories. Jabari talks a lot about how he got laid off from the Universal Soul Circus and how there were no jobs. Like, we're in this era, there are no jobs. And he said, I created a job. He's still doing that. That's brilliance. Like, we came up with some really brilliant people in our class. And that to me, they can speak to it more than I can because I'm in awe of the success that Bobby has had, the success that Jabari, the success that Jay Clip has had.
Yeah.
People who went to college with us that everybody looked those people up, but like those people have innovated. Look at Barlow. Barlow's been all over the world,
Yes.
working
Yeah.
for NBA teams. Those guys
Yes.
are brilliant. And
Yes.
that's so impressive to me because they let their dreams take them there. That's not, yes, Bobby was probably in what mass comm. I don't know what his major is. I don't know. But even like my friends that went there, they've gone and done things that like I never would have seen them doing. Kaneen is like head of a college now. She didn't
Wow.
even graduate from Jackson State. She didn't graduate. She didn't go back to school for a while. She had a kid and everything. She went back to school, got her master's. Like, it's never too late. That's what
Right.
I would tell them. Your journey may not look like what you thought it was going to look like. It most likely won't. They always say if you want to hear a joke, tell God your plans,
That's a fact.
right?
That's a fact. That's a
So
fact.
it probably won't look like what you planned, but be loose with it. Figure out, like, in the down times, in the hard times, even if it's not something you want to monetize, figure out what brings you closer to what makes you dream. Start doing the stuff that makes you dream. That's what I do. And that'll always lead me to bigger ideas, bigger, all of that. So start thinking about what makes you dream, what makes you wander.
That's beautiful. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. Now, I just want to, for the people who are doing their Googles, you mentioned Bobby Carter,
Mhm.
Jabari Graham, Barlow. That's Raphael Barlow. Just,
Mhm.
just for anybody who's trying to figure out who Barlow is, and
Mhm.
Jay Clip. And then you mentioned your friend. What was her last name? Kaneen.
Oh, Kaneen Lewis. I have
Do
friends that have
you?
been in jobs 30 years that I'm so impressed that they.
Yes, they're
My
doing
best
some
friend
great
Wanda
things.
Burrell, that's another one. Jamila Caldwell,
Yeah.
Drina, Drina. Everyone knows.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
She's one of my favorite people. But yeah,
Yeah.
like just brilliant, brilliant black people.
I think is she from New York?
Yes.
I saw her in a documentary. I can't even tell you what the documentary was, but it had something to do with was it on Prime? It was on Prime, I think. It had something to do with HBCUs and New York. And
I
they
love
had
it.
some type of gathering where it was a collection of folks that went to all different type of HBCUs, and she was in it. She was
Drina
in it.
Armstrong, and she's a Zeta, so that's like a big deal to her. What I love about Drina is that Drina finds community. She's a
Yeah,
community builder. I mean, whenever I spend time with her, I'm very inspired by her ambition. She's always connected. That's her thing.
cool,
So,
cool. Now I stepped on one name. I wanted to make sure. Well, you mentioned Jamila, you mentioned Kaneen, you mentioned Drina, you mentioned another name too. I
Bianca
stepped over
Burrell. That's my best friend.
Bianca.
Bianca Burrell.
I want to make sure it comes out clear because I was talking
Oh,
over
yeah.
it. So
Bianca Burrell.
cool, cool. What a masterclass! This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Kristin reminds us of something simple but powerful. The gifts you carry travel with you, no matter what door you come through. Law enforcement to multicultural agency of the year, Jack State to building her own thing. She didn't have it all figured out. She just bet on herself. Young people, pay attention to what comes naturally to you. It's not random. That's a clue. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kristin. This is wonderful. This is a wonderful conversation. I think folks are going to get a lot out of it, and I appreciate you taking the time out to chat with me.
Of course.
All
All right.
right. Thank you so much.
You're
This
so welcome.
concludes our podcast. Until the next one, we're out.